Welcome back. As you know, the cost of living is a big issue for so many Canadians, particularly perhaps on this Thanksgiving weekend. Ottawa has announced measures to try and rein in grocery prices this past week, or at least stabilize them. Is it enough? Earlier, I spoke with the Federal Minister of Industry, François-Philippe Champagne. Minister Champagne, thank you for making the time. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be with you on this Sunday.
So you met with the heads of the 5 major grocery chains. They came back to you with plans to try and stabilize prices. What kinds of things have they proposed to you?
Well, first of all, that was a first in Canada. You know, you're right, Rosemary. I called them in Ottawa to express the frustration of 40 million Canadians and say basically enough is enough, and you have to do something to help us stabilize prices. What I introduced last week was a 5-point plan. You know, one of them is the commitment from the grocers. Some of the things we've seen before, but I would say expanded and certainly for a longer time. Talk about price freeze, discounted basket. But this is just one of the things we've said. You know, the best way to stabilize prices in the short, medium, and long term is really to have a more competitive environment in Canada. So that's why we said we're going to have the consumer, the Bureau of Consumer Affairs, so that in a way we can track what they said. We can also look at shrinkflation. You know, a lot of people have been wondering, you know, kind of same packages. I take pasta, but instead of 120 gram, it's 100. We're going to make sure that we push the international manufacturer. Remember, I met Nestle, Unilever. The code of conduct on grocery, because the smaller guys say this is key for transparency. Then we talked about data, a bit like the U.S. is doing. They call that the U.S. food dollars, so that we have a better sense as Canadians. And finally, the landmark competition reform, because actually, if you ask me, what's going to have the most impact is really if we as, you know, consumers, you and I and millions of viewers, where we decide to spend our dollar, which banner, if we go there or there, that's going to have the most impact on them responding to the needs of Canadians.
Okay, let me ask you a few questions about what you've said there. Do you anticipate then that prices will actually come down on some goods? Did they make any guarantees to lower prices? And can you give people a sense on what kinds of goods they could see that?
Well, the mission I gave them was to stabilize prices. Yeah. You've seen, Rosemary, we've seen food price has increased more than inflation, and that's a problem. You know, it's a problem for families every Thursday, or like me every Saturday. People feel that. So we said, first of all, you need to stabilize prices. How you're doing it, then I want competition to go, because what we heard and what we have been in discussion with them in the plan, you know, different banners will do different things. And I know if one is doing that, they said, well, if they do this, then we'll do that. So really, we've inspired ourselves to what you've seen in the United Kingdom with Red Rose, in France with Carrefour, looking at international best practices and making sure that we reflect that in the Canadian context. Not exactly the same, but in a way, putting pressure on them. And I think the best pressure, obviously we have soft power because you're the government. You can call them and they come and express frustration. But then it's really an appeal to all the consumers out there, all of us, to say, listen, let's watch each of them and let's direct our dollar to the one which is giving us best value for our money.
Well, but then why are you needed at all? If the responsibility is going to come back to the consumer,
someone needs to pick the fight. You know, I would say, because someone needs to fight. No one expects miracles, but they expect someone to fight. So I'm bringing the fight on behalf of 40 million Canadians and say, by the way, we want plans. We want to follow up on that. We want to take the international manufacturers. We want to provide more data. I spoke to the Independent Grocery Association, the 6,900. They said, Minister, the Grocery Code of Conduct and the data, that's going to help us to balance our negotiation with the bigger brand. So it's really being a catalyst and having the eyes of 40 million Canadians on the grocers now and say, you better deliver, because we're all watching you.
Yeah, although also on you, because now you're also going to have to deliver too, right? So how soon
I'm doing that on behalf of Canadians, actually.
Yeah, but how soon should Canadians expect to see some of these prices go down? How long are you willing to give them?
Oh, well, listen, you know, no one expects, it's not like a switch, you know, it's not like you say, oh, you flip a switch and then prices stabilize. This is something that's going to take weeks and months, and I'm going to be on their back. If you ask me when we're starting to see things, I think in the coming days and weeks, because I've seen some wants to put this promotion, the other one said we're going to do this if they do that. So you're seeing a movement. I think what we have achieved, Rosemary, is kind of to be a catalyst for the frustration of Canadians. And I can call them to Ottawa to speak on behalf of all your viewers, but then it's collectively and us pushing them. You know, if you ask me, am I going to be happy? Not soon, because I want to see more. But it's only day 4 of what we have, started. But this is going to be a journey to make sure that Canadians have, best value for their money.
You say you are there to express the frustration of Canadians, but as you well know, the frustration of Canadians has been ongoing for some time. The inflation of food has been higher than inflation since 2021. Some people would say that you've come to this far too late, and only because you were forced to respond after the opposition parties have been hammering you for months to do something.
Well, I think you respond to what Canadians want. I mean, it's not about the opposition. It's really what Canadians want.
Well, that's fine, but consumer inflation, food inflation has been high since 2021.
And I'd say it's always a good day to fight for Canadians. I mean, no one is going to, complain and say, oh, they're taking the fight now. What people want to see is someone on their side to fight for them, and that's what we're doing. And they understand that this is a journey that we need to take together. The government will do what we have to do, but we as consumers together will really direct our dollar. And I think that is the pressure of the market plus what we did. We're going to be in this together for weeks and months to make sure that we see results for Canadians.
The grocery code of conduct, as you said, that does exist in other countries. Will it be mandatory and enforceable? Because there are associations, the Dairy Processors Association of Canada, for instance, who says it has to be. It has to be legislation and it has to be mandatory. Is that what you would expect?
Well, there's different views on that. I mean, like I said, my role has been to push them to sign on to the Code of Conduct, like you said, to have more transparency and fairness. Yeah. What has been negotiated over the last 2 years is really a voluntary Code of Conduct. This is where we are now. We have to take the views of those who have participated in that endeavor. This has been going on with different, players in the industry. Yep. So my role has been to push for it to sign. I think it would be step one. And it's much needed, especially for the small independent grocers, because, it's not only about the big chains, but also the smaller ones that we want to protect and provide them with information so then when they negotiate with the big banners or the distributors, that they have more power to get good deals for them then that they can pass on to consumers.
So, I'm sure you know this, and certainly you see inflation prices on food. They're already easing, and economists say that what you've announced and you say you're going to do is actually, it's already happening because you came to it too late.
I think we should all be happy then.
Yeah. So what do you say to Canadians on this Thanksgiving weekend where they are out having to make difficult choices for their families? What do you say to them about how real this is going to be, whether this is actually going to make a difference?
Well, I would say look for the best offers. We already see things in the market where some are trying to outcompete with each other. That's why I'm so keen about this Bureau of Consumer Affairs, so that eventually we'll have more tools to provide to Canadians about shrinkflation. Some have called about dequaliflation, the quality of products. But I would say be on the lookout, because one thing that I've seen and what they've told me is that they're really competing for your dollars now. So you'll see different banners offering different things, and that's really, the best thing we can do is having a more competitive environment. That's really the way anywhere you look at different industry, different country. That's the way that you stabilize prices, is more competition, and I think we've been a catalyst to bring that pressure on them. First time I'm told in Canada, bring the pressure on them, the pressure of 40 million people, and say you have to do better for consumers.
Okay, Minister Champagne, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.